Haribol. I wanted to talk about mrdangas from the perspective of someone who's wondering about which mrdanga to buy. There's a few different types of mrdangas available now. So I've got a variety of mrdangas and I wanted to discuss a little bit about each of them, which might help someone who's buying a mrdanga for the first time to know which one is best for them. So let's start with this one. In terms of price, it's the cheapest that's available in Australia. It's the Tilak brand of mrdanga, and it's a fiberglass body, so a synthetic body with synthetic heads, and each side can be tuned independently with an Allen key. So here is, you can tune the head with an Allen key, and these drums come with an Allen key included. And the price in Australia is about $250 approximately. And this is a smaller size for kids. And I recommend these drums to my students, children who are learning the drum for the first time. I recommend this to the parents to buy them this one because it's a synthetic body, it won't break. So they're very long lasting. The heads you can replace. The tuning is easily done. And they're quite light. I think they're the lightest drums compared to the clay bodies and the other synthetic drums. It's the lightest. So what are the downsides of this drum is that they don't sound the best. The sound is you can't seem to get the top end tuned as high as the Balarama drum. And the bottom end, if you do get the Tilak drum and you need a replacement head, then I would suggest getting the replacement heads from the makers of the Balarama drum, so from the United States. I believe that's one of the downsides of the Tilak, is it doesn't sound as good as the other drums. They can be shipped from within Australia to your door within a week or two. So the next drum we'll look at is this. This is the brand Balarama, which is the original synthetic drum made by the disciples of Prabhupada. I'm fairly sure his name is Ratnabhushan Prabhu from LA. And I bought this drum with my good friend Sitapati Prabhu when we went to LA in the year 2000. He bought a yellow one and I bought a white one, and we were en route to South America, and we used those drums extensively in South America on Harinams and at the temple. And this is the same drum. So 22, 23 years later, this drum is still sounding as good as it did. So these drums sound great. It's a different sound to a clay drum. It's more of a synthetic sound. So there's very much a different sound between the synthetic drums and a clay drum. But the top end is very nice and get it tuned quite high. It has all the pros of the Tilak drum. One of the cons would be it's a little bit more expensive. I've seen them online available from Vedic Sky in South Australia for $450 delivered. They're heavier than a Tilak drum, but it's a very solid body. Again, this will last practically forever. And the sound is definitely better than the Tilak drum. as good as the clay drum. Now this is an original style clay drum from India, made in India, and it's, as you can hear, this side is a little bit higher than you'd want it to be. This is a little bit lower than you'd want it to be. Pretty close. So this of course is the original clay style drum that they used in the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda when they were present. So there's something very special about this style of drum. The drum was specifically made for Krishna kirtan. You know, there's a specific number of straps, there's a specific size to the top of this, and everything about it has a spiritual significance because it was used and made and produced at the time when the Sankirtan movement was very much being birthed by Lord Chaitanya. And now, in terms of it being a usable instrument, there are a few cons with it compared to the synthetic drums. The leather is very much affected by climatic conditions. So if it's a very humid day, then what happens is the tuning goes down. Now it's completely flat, unusable. So to be able to tune this up again, you'd need to put this quite close to a flame of some sort, maybe a gas stove, just to dry out the head a little bit, and that will come back up. Now, on the other hand, if this clay drum, this one is too high, if you want to tune this down, then you have to very carefully put water here on the outside of the gob here, making sure not to touch that, and spread the water. You do it like this. Probably seen them at the temple do this. They spread water here around the outside. Very good and easy way to put it on is actually with a little syringe, plastic syringe, and you just apply it here, and then you just let it sit for a few minutes, and then the tuning will go down a bit. So this is a huge con for the clay drum in that it's affected by the weather. And even within like the same kirtan, the tuning may go up or down depending on what it's like in the room. So if it's very humid, the tuning might go down, and so you may need to retune halfway through the kirtan, and you often see devotees do that. Or, you know, in between kirtans you will have to tune it. So this is somewhat problematic. The obvious benefit of a clay drum is how it sounds. Now the sound of the clay drum, if it's a good clay drum, if it's well made and if it's well tuned, then it will give you the best sound out of all of these different types of drums, without a doubt. But you still have to deal with the tuning. You also need to deal with the fact that it's made from clay, so if you drop it or if you knock it, then it's going to break, and then you need a new drum. And the other thing is the longevity of the drum is that this won't last as long as a synthetic drum. The leather heads will slowly need retuning. This gob will slowly come off on either side. I'll show you a drum where after heavy use, then it looks something like this. The gob needs to be replaced, which is somewhat of an art that if you don't know how to do it, then you really just need to get a new drum. I guess you're looking at a lifespan, you know, for 5 years for a clay drum and 50 years for basically your whole lifetime for a synthetic drum. So the last drum which we'll look at is this evolution of the synthetic drums, which is the Madhura brand of mrdanga. My friend has joked that because of how it looks with all the nuts and bolts, it looks like the Robocop of mrdangas. And this brand of mrdanga, they've engineered it very close to the original clay drums. And what they've done differently to the Tilak and the Balarama drums is that they've added another membrane on the top here, added this another lip here on the head, which allows you to make this other sound which is a bit more of a higher frequency sound on the edge here, called a nuk sound, and that you couldn't really do on the Tilak or the Balarama drum. They've also included more points of tuning, so you can more finely tune each head. They've added the second membrane here also on the bass side, on the violin side. And also here in the middle, they've etched or kind of sanded the head so that your hand no longer gets stuck when you're sliding across the top, which would happen a lot with the Balarama drum. See, it has this gob on the outside here, and it's very sticky. So a bit squeaky as you move across it. Now you can put some talcum powder on that, and it'll be as smooth as a baby's bottom. But this one is etched in a way that you can just easily glide across it. So that's a bonus. Another thing with the synthetic drums, the Madhura, the Balarama and the Tilak drum, is that they have these rubber soft guards around each of the heads, whereas with the clay drums, this is slightly raised here, and this leather here, when you hit your hand against it, it's actually quite hard. So you can, easily come away with sore hands after playing a clay drum for a long time. On both sides you can see there's a lip here, and this is a lot harder on the hands than this edge here, which is made of a softer rubbery plastic type thing. So in terms of playability, you can access each side much easier than the clay drum. So in terms of playability, that's another pro of all of the synthetic drums, is that you can play them easier, and they're a lot easier on your hands. So that's another benefit of the synthetic drums. So the sound of the Madhura is coming very close to the sound of a clay drum, a good clay drum. It's certainly closer to the sound of a clay drum than the previous Tilak and the Balarama drums. So it's definitely an evolution. It's an upgrade. It is slightly more costly. These are about $600 landed in Australia. They're manufactured somewhere in South India. So if you're in India itself, I think they're about 400 Australian dollars. So that's one factor, is that they're a little bit more expensive, but they are going to last a lifetime. And the sound is getting very close to the sound of the original clay drum. So this is going to be my mrdanga of choice for the kirtans, the type of kirtans that I do, kind of yoga studio, sometimes, you know, temple kirtans and harinam in the street. Just because I don't have to deal with the tuning, it's not fragile, it's not going to break, and also it's just going to last many, many years. So hopefully that's helped someone in terms of choosing, you know, what mrdanga is going to be right for you. If you're a beginner and you're just starting out and you don't want to spend so much money, then the Tilak drum is going to be good for you. And if you're going to decide between the Madhura and the Balarama drum, I would spend the extra money and get the Madhura drum. You won't be disappointed. And if you want to choose between the Madhura and the clay drum, then I would say, if you live in India and you live close to a place where there's a constant supply and flow of clay drums, then obviously you get a clay drum because they're a lot cheaper there in India. But if you're outside of India and you want, you know, a reliable drum that's, you're not going to have issues with tuning, with breaking them, and with its lifespan, then this Madhura drum is certainly a good choice. So I hope that's helped someone. So thank you. Hare Krishna.